Hey everybody, this is MC Darvel. Welcome to the second video of my YouTube channel. And today I have a special treat for y'all. I have my friend Addie. He's on the line. Addie, what's up?
Hey Zach, how's it going?
I'm doing very well. How are you, sir?
Just glad to be here.
Cool. Look, man, tomorrow is a big deal for us. And by us, I mean people. What do I mean by us? I mean,
People who frequent the MCU.
that's right. So what's going on tomorrow?
Tomorrow is the premiere of the first episode of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Hell yeah, man. I've been looking forward to this for a long time. So to start off with, like, we're obviously gonna go through a lot of spoilers of MCU movies, probably particularly Endgame. So for anybody who hasn't seen that yet, for some crazy reason, go out and watch it. You won't regret it at all. Of course, watch Infinity War, Avengers, of course. Before that, real quick though, I want to talk about what we're watching on the screen right now, and that's going to be a drawing that I am doing of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And so what you're seeing is a program called Google SketchUp. I like to use this for the comics that I work on. And by the way, Addie and I are working on a comic and have been working on one for quite some time, and hopefully we'll be able to show a little bit of that in future videos. But so yeah, I do like to kind of rely on this 3D program, Google SketchUp, a little bit. It's a pretty intuitive 3D programming software, and I don't think we're going to talk that much about the drawing or this 3D modeling throughout this video, but I do just want to say that the pose that I started out with here, I intended to have Falcon, who you see there on the screen, kind of like lifting the Winter Soldier up while the Winter Soldier is blasting some noobs somewhere off the screen somewhere. So anyway, that's the setup for that. Pretty soon I'll be switching over to Sketchbook Pro, my preferred drawing software. So, all right, so that's out of the way.
Well, but before we move on too far, I'm familiar with your process, but I don't think that people watching are necessarily familiar with how you actually work and how you do your drawings. So,
Um,
can you kind of explain like what we're actually looking at, like what you use this for?
yeah, so yeah, absolutely. It's so as I mentioned in my previous video, I do like images or drawings or comic art really that has more of a three-dimensional feel to it. And I don't so much, I want to stray away from any sort of two-dimensional feeling to the picture. At the same time, I like to maintain the cartoony aspect that comics afford, or some comics afford at least, especially Eastern anime, manga type comic, and more indie comics like what Addie and I are working on. But my process is essentially I've come up with, or I sort of modeled this figure, this male figure in Google SketchUp, just using simple shapes, and I did that so it would be pretty easy just to move them around and rotate them, to get the pose that I really like, and really because it's not my full time job to be a comic book artist. So I really have worked over the years, and have had a lot of help from you, Addie, in developing this sort of workflow for really speeding up, the illustration process. So I don't know if that spoke to the question, but I'd be happy to talk about it more. And I certainly will in future videos. I think this is something that I first saw being used on a YouTube channel of a manga artist, a mangaka whose name is Yoshikaru, And when I first, that was a revelation for me the day that I saw him pull up Google SketchUp, and I think it was using it in Manga Studio. I think actually it integrates, and I could be wrong about this. I think it integrates directly into Manga Studio. Again, I could be wrong. I'll double check on that. But yeah,
I think that covered it. I just wanted to make sure we clarified that, that 3D models, you end up kind of using the way that some artists use like photo references.
Yeah, and
but I think it gives you a little bit more freedom because you're not, a photo kind of traps an image in one angle in one time, but you can kind of revisit that with a 3D model.
And you're absolutely right. That's exactly what I do. And by the way, I do use photo reference from time to time. And some people cringe at that. And when I was, fledgling artist, I didn't want to use any reference whatsoever. I think my whole thought process there was that, well, if I can't do something from memory or from thinking about it, then I'm not going to really get anywhere or develop. And I mean, in some ways, that can be true, but I don't think it's ultimately true. By ultimately, I mean, in the end, you're still learning when you're using reference. You're still learning when you're 3D modeling. You still, in the end, are doing the work yourself for the most part, unless you're just tracing, which, you probably noticed that I'm not just tracing the 3D model, and in fact, at this point, you probably see that the picture has completely changed. Well, not completely. You see Falcon there is still in the same pose, but I've decided to go with a different pose for the Winter Soldier. I thought, like, Falcon just holding up the Winter Soldier was just a little, it was awkward, at least for the angle that I had chosen, which was an angle that used foreshortening and perspective. I think if I were to use or to continue with that pose, or excuse me, that configuration of the characters together, I'd probably try to get it more of a side-on type of view instead of like looking directly at them type of view. Because the side-on type of view just kind of makes them like this big, blob in the middle of the illustration, which doesn't really have a movement. And you see these lines, these curved lines. Those curved lines are defining the movement of the picture. And so I mentioned in my previous video, I do like to have sort of a movement with the line traveling, hopefully normally in a curved manner throughout the picture. So, yeah, sorry, I really ate up a lot of time talking about that.
It's okay. I think the 3D models are really cool. But like what you were saying, sometimes, regardless of how cool the reference is, you have to kind of maybe sometimes abandon the reference if it's not working for what you need it to do.
And me, Addie, we've been developing our comic for years, and how many times I've abandoned things that I started, and I thought, wow, this is going to be the next big picture for me. And a lot of times it comes down to sometimes things that look very three-dimensional just still don't have that energy, Let me bring up Rob Liefeld or Liefeld. Say what you want about his actual style. He's got a lot of energy to his pictures. I really respect them for that. Now, they may not have the greatest fundamentals of, say, perspective or, and I'm not making a judgment on that at all. I'm just, I think he's great. I think, some people will criticize him for not having some fundamentals like this foreshortening ability or perspective, but he has energy. I mean, that goes, like, it doesn't have to have perspective. It doesn't have to have foreshortening. It has to have energy in comics. And sometimes
you
just gotta abandon, something if it doesn't have energy.
Yeah, I think I would prefer energy over something that's just perfectly anatomically, textbook accurate, something that you'd see in like a medical book.
Right.
So, did you want to talk about the show?
I do.
As of right now, we don't have spoilers for the show. We haven't seen a single episode. We're not movie reviewers who get to see things early or anything like that.
Yeah. I don't.
So we'll be speculating.
It. So from what I've seen, I think it's going to be straightforward. I don't think there's going to be. WandaVision has wrapped up, and by the way, I haven't finished that, so don't spoil that for me.
Yeah, we probably shouldn't talk a whole lot about WandaVision just in case, because
Right.
it's still new. But even if it isn't new, it's a great show. So I want to give people a chance to see that and make their own thoughts. But as far as this show, so you and I both caught up on all the TV spots and the the different ads that they've aired on YouTube and the trailers. I actually just saw today on YouTube they had a launch event, a virtual launch event, and I watched some of that. It's not great. It's very heavy on the marketing. My main problem, I guess, with the show is just that I don't. It's also probably the biggest positive that I have for it, which is I don't know very much about it. I don't know what to expect. So we've got these two characters. We've got basically these two guys who don't know each other very well, but both of them are the best friend of the same guy
Right.
who's
Right.
no longer around.
Interesting.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I feel like at the end of Endgame, right, we see. So we're going to get into actual like MCU movie spoilers, right?
I'm doing that.
At the end of Endgame, Steve Rogers gives the shield to Falcon, right?
Yep, that's right.
So
big spoiler.
I am very confused about why the show is not called Captain America and the Winter Soldier or Captain America and the White Wolf, because I think Black Panther called Bucky the White Wolf the last time that we saw him.
Yeah, and I was I was gonna say, let's see. This will be fun to see who's gonna be the first person to say Captain Falcon. I'm really biting my tongue to not say Captain Falcon. I'll be honest about that. Are you in that situation as well, or is that just me?
I hadn't thought about it, but I mean now it's gonna be hard to get out of my head.
Oh, what is that Super Nintendo game? I don't know.
F-Zero. Yeah, it's the racing game.
F-Zero X, is that it? Yeah. But yeah, I am a little bit different on the I don't know what to expect. I hope things will be, less straightforward than I think they're going to be. So what just to say what I think is going to happen, and I base a lot of this off of this article I read on IGN. It was written by Jesse Shadeen. I read this today, actually, in preparation for this. And, he basically said that it is going to be more or less Falcon trying to earn the mantle of Captain America while there is this other, quote unquote, Captain America who's actually U.S. agent out there trying to compete for that sort of mantle. But at the same time, so when I watched one of the shorter trailers, maybe it was one of the older ones, where Bucky was like, "This shield means a lot to a lot of people," and he gave Falcon this look like, "You don't, you don't deserve it. It's me who deserves it." So I wonder if there's going to be that kind of thing, because in the comics, both of them have donned the Captain America shield and been Captain America. I think Falcon probably was Captain America for much longer. So
yeah, they've both taken on the mantle. I feel like that's going to play into the show early on. I think that a lot of what we have seen is a lot of hints, and the hints are things about personal relationships between the two main characters.
Right.
So the two main characters, what has been marketed so far is that they're friendly but antagonistic. So like they don't hate each other like say Tony Stark hates the Mandarin, but they don't get along. Like I mean, neither of them sees in each other what they saw in Steve Rogers. So I think early on, what causes that kind of tension is that kind of almost jealousy, but almost competitiveness, where they both think that they deserve it, and they're trying to kind of prove to each other that they're the better one.
Right.
I think that once we see that person who may take on the mantle, who we saw in the trailer footage
Mm-hmm.
in what looked like a football game or
Yep.
some kind of sports game scene.
Yep.
He's wearing a Captain America-like outfit.
Yeah, it's I believe
I think
Wyatt Russell.
once he's introduced, we're going to see them work together a lot better.
Right.
Because even though I don't think he's an enemy either, but I think once they perceive, a common threat to the mantle,
right,
they'll be like, well, maybe it's not you, maybe it's not me.
Captain America, they want U.S. agent.
One thing, the name Sharon Carter is also known as Agent 13, and she was in Winter Soldier. She was Captain America's love interest for a little bit, kind of. And people thought it was kind of... Zemo was wearing his purple mask in the trailer, so that's pretty cool. I wonder what leads to that. But also, it looks like there's a gang or a group or something of some kind of rebels or some kind of maybe vigilantes or criminals or something. And they wear some kind of mask that looks like they all have one.
Yep.
And the one that we see up close is like black with like a red handprint on it.
Right.
So I don't know what that could be. The only thing that pops into my head is something that we've already seen in the Netflix shows, which is the ninja group, the Hand.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it's the Hand. They don't look like ninjas. So I don't think it's that. I think it's going to be something else where they have superpowers.
But I mean, that one, the leader of this gang, seems to be very strong. She kicked butt of Bucky. As we know, Bucky has been infused with super soldier serum, if I'm not mistaken. I think he has.
Right.
So,
I'm curious if Falcon... So, okay, I have a theory about this. I have two theories about this, actually. And they're not like competing theories. Like, they could work together. Okay? One is Falcon has no powers, right?
Yeah.
And in this plot, it looks like there's a group of bad guys who have stuff that gives you powers.
Right. Oh, is that right? Do they have something that gives them powers?
I think that's why that one of those people is so strong. I think they have powers. But okay. My second theory, so my first theory is that by the end of it, Falcon will get whatever they have, and he will effectively also be a super soldier. So that when he takes on the Captain America mantle, it's not like, oh, Captain America with an asterisk, like, but he's a normal guy. It'll be, no, he's full on like Captain America, super strong, super fast, the expected power set,
Right.
That's my first theory. My second theory is that this group of bad guys who have powers is working for the government or working for whoever has U.S. agent, and that they are effectively a marketing tool to prove that U.S. agent is a necessity. We need Captain America. We need this new Captain America. See what's happening right now in our streets?
Yes.
You know what I mean? I feel like that's where it's going to go. My theories are almost always wrong, though. So anybody listening, don't worry. I'm not giving you anything secret.
So I want to, quickly reference this IGN article by Jesse Shadeen. And, obviously this isn't my thought at all. And I had never even heard about this before, but apparently in the early 2000s, there was a run of Marvel Comics where they explored this super soldier serum program where sort of like the Tuskegee syphilis experiment. There's going to be some of that happening. So this
That'd be really interesting, because right now, as far as plot stuff, like we have very little to go on. So like that would actually, I feel like that would add some substance.
I hope so. I hope there's something, you can't have a black Captain America without addressing, obviously, the blackness of America, right? How, and here's a couple of white guys talking about this, but, the many tragedies, but also the many great accomplishments and achievements of the black community. And I hope that they address this, and I really believe that they will. And that's why I sort of believe that they're going to go with, and who knows? I mean, again, I'm just citing this IGN article, but there's got to be some aspect of that. We've seen Watchmen recently. HBO, I believe. I don't know. Watchmen is making big waves.
Yeah. And that delivered some powerful results, and people got the message, I guess.
Right.
Sad
So
that it took a TV show.
right, a TV show.
People know about Tulsa now.
Right. I personally did not know about that myself.
Yeah,
So
me neither.
in the end, I think the questions are, who is going to be Captain America? Who is this gang? What is Baron Zemo up to? I mean, like you said in the beginning,
How does he tie into the rest of it?
and
So we can theorize all day about what's going to happen between the two titular characters, but like really, no matter what we come up with, it doesn't really have much to do with Zemo or with the gang. You know what I mean? It's very hard to. They've kept a pretty tight lid on the details, is what I'm saying.
right. So with we've got a lot to look forward to. I want to kind of touch on how does this play into the next phase for Marvel. We've got WandaVision, which is amazing. It's game changing in some ways. How do we see this fitting in with that at all? I mean, how do we theorize how it fits in?
So I think a lot of what they're doing right now, without giving away anything that happens in WandaVision, I think a lot of what they're doing right now is gearing up for a potential Avengers movie. I think they're treating side characters, or I think they're treating what used to be considered side characters, as though they've never been in a movie before and are now being introduced. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes.
I think they're treating these shows as the next lineup. So I think what we're seeing is we're seeing some changes for some of the characters, basically, and mostly when I say changes, I mean we're getting to know them. Like they're getting developed. They're becoming not necessarily. I'm not necessarily talking about Falcon taking on the Captain America name. I'm talking more about a little bit of what I was saying before about how we don't really know Bucky as a character.
Yes.
Before WandaVision, again, no spoilers, I didn't care about Wanda or Vision because I didn't really know them as characters. We had so little time with them. And now I like both of them a whole lot. So I'm hoping this show delivers the same thing for Falcon and Winter Soldier, and that the next few shows do the same thing for their characters, so that these characters are not seen as side characters or sidekicks or like the C-listers or anything. I think what they want to do is like really like make people familiar with these characters. Honestly, I have a lot of confidence in them doing that because the track record is spotless. Iron Man, when Iron Man came out, nobody knew Iron Man. You know what I mean? And now everybody knows Iron Man. Guardians of the Galaxy, the same thing. It was announced they were making this obscure space thing, and they hadn't done anything like that before. And then they knock it out of the park. So taking characters that you don't particularly care about and making you care about them is their bread and butter. It's what they do. Basically, these characters have to be the A-listers now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Basically that's what I'm getting at. Is like what they need to do with these shows is like get us to see these characters. Like when we think Marvel, we think Falcon. We don't think like Iron Man and Thor and Hulk. Like no, they want you to think Falcon, Wanda, Bucky. Like they want these people to be the top of your head. You know what I mean? That I think more so than any like specific plot stuff or specific character interactions, I think that is really like the impact the show is going to have on the MCU, like on the greater universe.
And let's give them, big props for, continuing to take some of the lesser known stories and again, lesser known characters and bringing them to the forefront, because that's really generating interest in people going back and buying print trade coverbacks and the like, and of course the print comic book industry, is not what it was in the 90s. Of course, the 90s was a crazy speculative boom, but let's not forget like how many amazing books there are really out there, and how Marvel and Disney continue to dig very deep into these stories and pull out the best parts of them. I don't know. I'm just baffled that we live in this age, where they're actually doing right by them.
And they've been doing it for 10 years now. You know what I mean? More than that at this point. That's
right.
so crazy.
This was a lot of fun.
Zach, I want to say thanks for having me. I think the picture turned out great.
Thank you.
Really excited to see what the show has in store.
Me too. Let's check it out tomorrow.
Thanks so much for inviting me here.
All right, thanks, Addie. Viewers, folks, expect my good friend Addie, who is, of course, the writer of my comic, to be joining us in future. I don't know. This is sort of like a podcast / drawing video, but whatever this is, he's going to be joining, and we're going to be talking about, our own indie comic endeavors, which are, of course, heavily inspired by these beautiful stories that are being told now on the big screen. So again, thank you so much, Addie, for your time. Good night, my good friend, and good night, my subscribers and viewers. Thank you very much for checking in, viewing this video, and expect another one very soon. And enjoy Falcon, not Captain Falcon, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. We'll be talking about that hopefully more soon. Bye, everybody.